Okay, I want to start a new series of lessons, and today will be lesson one on some basic math with percentages. You need to understand how percentages work to manage the money, financials, and do stock trading. So we'll do that today. And then for tomorrow's lesson, I want to show how we use the percentages and also visit a couple of websites to apply what you learned from lesson one. Okay. For now, let's just open Firefox. And then I want to go to Google Drive. So drive.google.com. And then we're going to create a new, so you'll have your own account, I think, with Google Drive. So there, just sign in if you need to, because right now I'm signed in as myself, Google account here. But once you're signed in, you want to create a new Google Sheet. So this we'll use this to kind of show examples of percentages. Okay. So let's start with something easy. Let's say you have $100, for example. Okay. So how many, let's go by percentages. So let's say what's 50% of $100? Let's do that. 50%, what is that? Of $100? That's half of 100. So obviously that'll be 50, right? Because 50% of 100 is 50. Okay. And then the math is pretty simple too. If you put a equal sign, then um, eh, put an equal sign here. I don't know, it gives you a suggestion. Just do equal. And then to get percentage of 100, let's type in 100 equals 100. And then for percentages, it's in decimal format. So 0.50 is 50%. So what is 100 times zero point 0.5? It's 50. Okay. So that's correct. Now, let's say you have the same $100. Um, let's do it over here. Well, let's say I want to know what is 5% of $100. Well, that's just equal. Let's say what is 100. Let's do this. Okay, 5% is in decimal format. So 5 in decimal format is 0.05. Okay, and what's 5% of times 100? What's 5? Okay, 10%. This is easy because 100 is divisible by all of these. So 10% of 100 is $10. So let's say this is $100. And I want to know what's 50% of $100? $50. What's 5% of $100? It's $5. What's 10% of $100? It's $10. Oops. And then it's pretty simple. So 1%, what's that? It's just going to be $1. What's 2%? Maybe $2. And I showed you the math, right? The math is easy way to do it is let's say I have 75%. Well, what you do, let me get the annotator here. What you do is take the 75% number and just move one, two places to the left, and that's where you put the dot. So that turns out to be, so you moved one, two places. So that's 0.75, right? 0.75. So I moved two places, one, two. So that's decimal format for percentages. Okay. And this is, you use the decimal format to find the percentage value of any number. So let's just pick a random number 64, 8, 31, for example? Well, to find the percentage, let's say I wanted to know what 75% of that is. Well, that's just equal to, let's say 0.75, because you move the decimal places two to the left. That's 75%. So 0.75, 75%. Now I want to know, you multiply it by the number that you're interested in. So what's 75% of 6,831? And ta-da, that's 75%. So 5,123.25. So let's pretend this is dollar amount. Let's just put a dollar there, and we'll put a dollar there. So this is 75% of this. Okay. What's 50% of this? Well, you do the math again. You do move the decimal places two places to the left. So it's 0.50. And I multiply it by the number that I want to calculate. So 50% of this is 34.15, which is halfway between 0 and this. Well, what's 25%? Well, that's just equal to 0.25 times this. That's $1,700. So 25% of $6,800. 25% of $6,800 is $1,700. Okay, what's 5% of 6,831? Well, that's just equal to 0.05 times. Remember, you move it two places to the left. 1, 2. So you put a 0 in front of it, times that. 5% of 6,831 is $341. And let's say, okay, what's 10% of 6,831? Well, that's equal to 0.1. Remember, you move the decimal places two places to the left. 1, 2. Then you multiply that by the number that you're interested in getting. What's 10% of 6,831? Well, it's $683. Well, what's 1% of $6,831? Well, that's just going to equal to 0.01, because remember, you move it two places to the left. 1, 2. You put a 0 there because you have to put something there. 1, 2. And then you multiply that by the number. So what's 1% of 6,831? Or you can just type in 6,831. What's 1% of 6,831? Well, $68. I'm going to change that to a dollar format. So that's how that works. So let's say I want to know what 100% of 6,831. Okay. Well, that's just equal to move decimal places two places to the left. You go 1, 2. Well, that's 1 times 6,831. Well, 100% of 6,831 is 6,831. Okay. So 100% of any number is that number. 100% of $5 is $5. 100% of $60 is $60. 50% is just halfway between that number and 0. 25% is 25% between 50 and 0, 50% and 0%. So that's how percentages work. So you can even go beyond that. Let's say I want to know what's 121% of 6,831. Well, remember, move it two places to the left. 1, 2. It's going to be 1.21 times 6,831. Of course, it's going to be a bigger number because bigger than 6,831 because we're going 100%, and then we're adding 21%. So it's 121% of 6,831 is going to be 82.65. And you can do this with any number. So I want to know what 1,000% of that number is. Well, you just move it two places to the left. One, two is 10 times 6831. Well, that's going to be $68,310. That's 1,000% of that. So that's how percentages work. That's the simple math. Just remember that for tomorrow, and we'll apply it to a dividend stock. Well, I mean, next lesson. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow. But just a sneak peek. I want you to remember finance.yahoo.com. Okay. This is a this is a website you'll use very often. Um, and this is where we can look up any stock. And one of the big stocks, dividend stock that I want you to know about is DIVO. Okay. This is the Amplified CWP Enhanced Dividend Income ETF. ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. I'll go over that later in a later lesson. But let's select that one. And I'll go through how to use this website. This is right now the summary, but I'll go through that in another lesson. But what I want to show right now is in the summary section. It tells you this yield number, and it's telling me the yield is 4.66%. Okay. So I want you to become very, very familiar with looking up yield for stocks. This is a dividend stock, or I should accurately say it's a dividend ETF or exchange traded fund. So like I said, I'll talk about what an exchange traded fund is in later lesson. But right now, 4.66%, that means it's going to pay you 4.66% of the money that you have in this stock. So right now the stock price is 43.10. Okay. So look at this. So I said DIVO is the ticker. They call these tickers symbols. Okay. This is an exchange traded fund. And then it pays a yield. Let's look at the price of the stock first. And then we'll look at the yield. All right. So price is 43.10, tells you right there. So put that in here. Okay. And the yield was say 4.66%. All right. 4.66%. Okay. Now let's say, for example, you bought one share. So quantity or number of shares, same thing. Let's say you bought one share. Well, one share, if you buy one, how much does it cost you? Well, it costs you $43.10 for one share. If you bought two shares, for a quantity of two, well, you just multiply this by two. So this is going to be 2 times the price of the stock. That's going to cost you $86 to buy two shares. Okay. It's like anything else. Let's say this was an orange. Okay. Let's say an orange costs you, I don't know, $1.25. $1.25. Okay. Well, you buy one of those, you buy one orange, well, it's $1.25. You buy two oranges, well, that's just two times $1.25. So that's $2.50 if you buy two oranges. If you buy three oranges, it's just three times the price of that one orange, just $4.75. That's the same thing for stocks. Pretend this is like the orange, and this is how much one orange costs, $43.10. Okay. If you buy two of these, well, it's going to be $86.20, and so on and so forth. Okay. Got that? All right. Now let's talk about this 4.66% yield. Um, this is how much money they're going to pay you in dividends or interest. Same thing, dividends, interest. Okay. So this company, this actual ticker symbol is the company. Was a bunch of companies because exchange traded fund will pay you 4 points. So what this means is it'll pay you 4.66% per year. Okay. So let's instead of doing this, let's say you bought 100 shares, 100 of these. Well, that's just going to be, 100 times price. So let's say you spent $4,310 to buy 100 shares. Okay. Now to get the yield, how much are they going to pay you every year is 4.66% of the money that it's worth. So right now it's worth $4,310. Um, so let's say I want to know what the percentage, remember, what's the percent of this number? Well, this is going to be, let's say I want to know. So you move the decimal places two places to the left, right? So it's going to be 0.0466. See that? I moved the decimal places right there. 1, 2. So it's 0.0466. Okay. So that's the decimal format for percent. Then I multiply that by the number I'm interested in, which is 4310. So what's 4.66% of $4,310? And it's $200. All right. So they will give you $200 every year um, for owning 100 shares of this stock. Now they don't. Now it's $200 total for the year, but they pay every month. So how many months are there in a year? There's 12 months in a year. So you got to divide this by 12 to get how much are they going to pay you per month. This is how much they're going to pay you per year. But there's 12 months in a year. Does that make sense? So let's say I divide this by 12. Well, that will pay me $16.74 every month. Miss Devo company or ETF pays every month. And it should say in here somewhere, but we'll look for it. It'll say in here somewhere, but we'll look for it. I think it pays every month. Yeah, right here. No, that's 5-year monthly. Doesn't say here, but um, let's find it. It should say in here somewhere. I want to find it. Hmm, profile maybe. Uh, Surprised it didn't tell you in here. Um, let's go to historical data. No, that doesn't gonna tell you. Holdings, performance. All right, well, it doesn't tell you in here. So we'll have to go to a different website to get how often they pay you. And we also need to look at other things on a different website too. Um, I'm surprised it didn't say right there. It should say. Okay, that's enough for this lesson. It's long enough, and we'll make these videos short so you can focus on these. So watch this and try to memorize what I showed. And if you have any questions, ask me questions. You need to understand this. This is the most important lesson. Okay. Okay, I'll stop sharing now and then I'll try to make another video soon.